We've got a top 20 matchup in Eugene. It is Paul Bunyan week, so you know it's weird. And Wisconsin is looking to show Penn State what is what in Madtown. Big Ten breakfast is now served.
Welcome back to Big Ten Breakfast. It's part Yelp review. It's part Big Ten preview. On today's episode, we are virtually going to place our orders at a wonderful little spot in Madison, Wisconsin, right on the lake. Marigold Kitchen. Dan, we had a chance to look at this menu. It seems legit. Very legit. I am excited to place my order with you, good sir.
Oh, man. Other than the breakfast burritos in Pasadena outside of UCLA, I don't think there's been a single place this season. I mean, look, the State College place looked great. The Seattle place looked great. Northwestern and Evanston. They all look great, period. Ann Arbor looked great. These are the two, UCLA and Wisconsin, that are providing my senses with an unusual level of arousal.
I'm ready. I am absolutely ready for Marigold Kitchen.
Oh, I would love to go. Okay, so as we know, when you are ordering breakfast, there's a lot of choices, Ty. It's scrambled or fried, it's bacon or sausage, it's toast or English muffin, it's fruit or potatoes, it's powdered sugar syrup, all sorts of choices. So what we're doing right now is we're doing absolute choices on Big Ten breakfast for week 9, if that makes sense to you. It's
this or it's that.
No gray area, no subtlety, no nothing. Just come up with your answer, okay?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. First,
this or that.
Illinois is a legitimate top 20 team, and a legitimate top 20 team will give Oregon trouble, even number 1 in the country, Oregon, trouble on the road.
This or that.
They will or they won't?
They won't.
No, they won't. They won't. I don't see it. Look, Illinois is the kind of team that can absolutely muddy up a game. We have seen them do that over the course of the Brett Bielema tenure. It has very much become part of what their identity is as a football team. That in and of itself is certainly something that you can use to your advantage. I think Luke Altmaier is noticeably better this season for the Illinois Illini. I like a lot of what this team stands for. I don't like the matchup against Oregon, because against Oregon, you got to find some way to generate big plays. Against Oregon, you're going to have to do more than just a few things well. You're going to need to play the best game of your life. Traveling cross country, squaring off against the Ducks, who are now number 1 in the country, have an awful lot to play for. It seems the path in front of them has cleared a little bit more. Bear in mind, there was a game next weekend that I think, if it would have gone differently this season, we might have looked at that Michigan game and said, okay, there's a look-ahead spot. Perhaps there's a moment that Illinois could take advantage of. I don't think that's the case at all anymore. Michigan's a 3-loss team at time of recording. So here is where I'm going with this. No, absolutely not. I think Oregon is going to absolutely trample the Illinois Illini. I am going not that.
Okay, I am going not that either, and it's not because I think Illinois is fraudulent on any level. It's more I think Illinois is pretty good, but not what their record indicates, not what their ranking indicates. When you look at the down moments on offense, unable to do anything against Penn State, the down moments on defense in that second half against Purdue, probably winning a losable game against Nebraska, which hasn't necessarily aged all that well, kind of barely beating and needing those turnovers to beat Kansas, who have struggled this year. Pretty good year. Winning is a skill that Illinois has had in down moments, but it's the plurality of those down moments, if I'm using that word correctly. Who knows? But it's the number of times that they've won in borderline losing efforts and look like a team that isn't fully ready to compete with what Oregon should be able to do to Illinois' lines on both sides of the ball. That's the thing to me. You're right about Luke Altmaier. I think we're right about the offensive skill talent for Illinois being good. But I think there are too many ways for Oregon to win and too many ways for the Ducks to smother them, especially up front. So I think the spread is about right at 3 touchdowns. The only wrinkle here, Ty, we got some rain in the forecast.
Oh, you love the weather wrinkle.
It may never rain in Autzen Stadium, as per locals. That's the only thing that I think could slow down the what I perceive to be the disparity between these two teams. So.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty wide gap. And earlier in the week, when the line was a little bit higher, there was definitely a case to be made that you should jump on Illinois. But since then, I think other folks, pro-betting folks, have seen the same thing. That line has come down a little bit, and now it feels like it's reasonably attainable from the Oregon side. So Oregon minus 21.5, I think feels like a pretty safe bet.
Next item, Kurtis Rourke, who is out injured this week against Washington in Bloomington, is the whole shebang for Indiana football. Taven Jackson's the replacement. It's this. He's the whole thing. And without him, they're just way different and not nearly as good. Or Indiana is bigger than Kurtis Rourke.
Indiana is bigger than Kurtis Rourke.
Okay.
They absolutely are. I mean, you look across the board, it's not just what they are getting in the passing game. The running game with Justice Ellison has also stepped up in a really significant way. The defense, Dan, the defense has also very much maintained, if not outperformed in some spots, the offense. They have played whole team football the full year through thus far. It will be interesting, that being said, to see how they respond to the fact that Kurtis Rourke is going to be out this week at home against Washington. I think we're going to see a little bit of a different game plan. I think we're going to have to see a little bit of a different game plan. But just being so, they have played so solidly the full way through this season. They have yet to trail at all this year. That is more than just offense. That is also defense as well. So no, Indiana is much, much bigger than just one player.
Okay, so my non-gray area is he is not the whole shebang. Indiana is bigger. But they'll beat Washington. I would lower their ceiling considerably against Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, schools of that nature.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
you need all of your starters. You need all of your best players. You need to be on your game. And I think Indiana would have shots against those teams, not without Kurtis Rourke. So, no, he's not the whole shebang. I'm a believer in Taven Jackson because of what he can offer on the ground with his legs against Washington, who've struggled to stop the run at times this year. But I'm a little bit worried about Taven Jackson in Indiana, but not against Washington. So I'm going to say not the whole shebang. You ready for the next item?
Let's go.
Nebraska. On the subject of Indiana, what they were last week, now heading into Columbus to take on Ohio State. Nebraska was a perhaps inflated program and truly is what they've shown themselves to be against, Purdue, against Rutgers, against Indiana, these types of schools.
Yeah. This is that my answer for this?
This or they're not. What they've had down moments, but they're still, the team that can show the pop that they showed in the first half against Colorado, that kind of team.
I think we are now seeing a more realistic view of what Nebraska is this season. I mean, despite all the preseason hype about Dylan Raiola, this all-world everything 5-star true freshman who is going to come in and kind of right the ship and change the fortunes of Nebraska. He's a true freshman.
Yes.
And we have seen some true freshman moments out of him. Nebraska was still a team that a year ago had a terrible offense. They're still trying to find a way to build from that. The defense has remained very, very solid, but I think realistically speaking, this notion that Nebraska was going to take this monumental jump forward and suddenly become a 9-3, a 10-2 team. I mean, there were some thoughts out there that could be a possibility. That was never realistic in my view. And as we've gotten deeper into the season, we have learned again that football's hard and it can take a while to build. Matt Rule is no stranger to the process. I think he knows what goes into it. I think Nebraska is on a good trajectory.
Right.
And they're certainly a lot better than they were a year ago. But this notion that they were going to zoom in front of the pack and kind of ascend to new heights they hadn't been to since the late 90s, no, that was never realistically going to happen. So I think what we are seeing right now is what Nebraska really is. I still think they're on a great path. I still think that Matt Rule has done a good job and that this team is immensely better than they were a year ago. But they are showing their true colors right now.
Yeah, 1 game is an aberration. 2 games is weird coincidence, maybe bad timing. 3 games is a trend. And when you add those things up with how they've looked the past month or so, I just think this is who they are. They had an opportunity against Indiana, given that Indiana hadn't really been prepared to play a defense that we still, I think, kind of maybe even just a little bit believe is pretty frisky at its core. But no, this is Nebraska, and that's okay. Because they're going to go bowling somehow, some way, I hope.
Yeah.
The UCLA game is the game of the year, I guess, for Nebraska. But yeah, this is who they are. They won winnable games early, but as push has gotten to shove, even in winning performances, this is a below average offense.
It is. And you know what? That's okay, because it was farther below average last year right?
Yes.
I mean, so the fact that they have gotten here, the fact that they have a quarterback that I think we all agree they can build around and be excited about and assemble, support staff around over the next couple seasons, all this stuff is gravy. I mean, they are going to be in a good spot, a much better spot next year, but it just takes time.
Wisconsin has turned a corner on offense these past few weeks, given their opponents, or not.
Yes, they have.
Okay.
They absolutely have. They have throttled their last two opponents. It doesn't even matter who they've played. The fact that they have looked this talented, this effective on offense stands for something.
Yeah.
Especially given where we feared they could go after losing Tyler Van Dyke.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say I was crazy about Braden Locke becoming the quarterback again. Last year, it didn't really go that swimmingly. But this year so far, last couple games anyway, it has definitely been something of a revelation on offense. That can be true. It also can be true that they're going to get drilled by Penn State this weekend.
Right.
Which is something I think you and I are like-minded in. I do feel like there is a mismatch here. I think Wisconsin plays their offense very close to the line of scrimmage right now. By that, everything is within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. They are not creating explosion plays. They are not giving the Penn State defense, in the case of Week 9, much to worry about over the top. And when you do that to a defense, I should say when you gift wrap that to a defense like Penn State's,
right,
you're giving them a reason to play a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, giving them a reason to bottle you up even further. So unless they can find some of those big plays, Dan, I don't like their chances this week, but certainly with respect to the last couple weeks anyway, it's hard to look at this offense and look at their output and feel bad about it.
I assume you mean Rutgers and Purdue, not necessarily the Northwestern game. I think they scored 23 points against Northwestern, but that they won by 20. Winning by 20 is a good thing always. I think that game was led by their defense against Northwestern's offense. I don't think they've turned a corner. I think that they've gotten better, but to me, turning a corner, or however we want to phrase it, means no longer what they were. And I don't know. I kind of need to see it. They played against Alabama and they scored 10 points. I know TVD went down in that game.
Right.
And they have an opportunity against Penn State. I feel like if they legitimately have turned a corner, they're going to put a little bit of fear into Penn State. And I don't know if I don't see that. I know Walker's been running better. The receivers have been better. Braden Locke has gotten more comfortable. I think it's a different animal, like you said, in Penn State. So I'm not saying two things can be true. My one thing that is true is they haven't turned a corner against a quality team like Penn State.
Well, and they haven't had an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
They haven't really had an opportunity. Now, they played well in the first half against USC.
Yes,
and then
popped
the
a great
second
pass
half,
deep. Yeah.
In the second half, that's when things came off the swivel a little bit. So they would need to string together a few of those first halves against teams like Penn State for maybe you to feel differently. I think what we have seen is genuine improvement. I do think they have taken that step forward. To some extent, they have turned a corner, but there are limits to that, I think, is where I'm at, and I just don't see it happening against Penn State.
Michigan won a national championship 9.5 months ago, and they have now fallen beneath a rebuilding in-state rival in Michigan State.
Or not. Whoa.
The vibes are definitely with Michigan State on this one, man.
It seems to be.
Michigan State just beat Iowa a week ago. That was a pretty big deal for Jonathan Smith in his first-year campaign in East Lansing.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to say no. They're still not ahead of Michigan. Michigan's got quite a head start, though. And that's where I think I come down on this question. The vibes right now, the wind is at Michigan State's back because of that win over Iowa. And certainly there are plenty of headwinds on the Michigan side of things, especially on the offensive side of things. Right. All of these things are true. I don't even think that's subjective. That is just an objective fact given where we're at now in Week 9. I need to see more from Michigan State. I need to see Michigan State win this game this week before I'm willing to answer this question on the side of Michigan State, just because Michigan does have that head start. There still is so much talent on hand. It still was a very, very odd circumstance for Sharon Moore coming in with all the staff turnover, losing J.J. McCarthy. There were a lot of things that maybe we should have paid more attention to, talked up in the preseason. So I'm not going to go there yet, but I would be foolish to at least not recognize that there are serious vibes right now for Michigan State.
What's the old English football phrase from Ted Lasso? It's the hope that kills you.
It's the hope that kills you. Yeah.
Michigan State has the hope of moving the ball downfield and of stopping the ball. They have the hope. I'm not saying they can. I'm not saying they always have. I don't know that Michigan has that hope on offense, right? You have to have that. You have to conceivably believe in your team's ability to both move and stop on some level, right?
It's wild that we are here.
It is.
Earlier this year, Michigan, literally this year, this calendar year of our Lord 2024, Michigan won a national championship in this calendar year.
Yes, with a lot of these players.
And now we're here. Mind-blowing. Mind-blowing to me that we are here, but we are here. And right now you definitely feel better about Michigan State's ability to do that. And also, they did do a proof of concept a week ago against Iowa.
Right.
Because Iowa's a very good defense in its own right. And they moved the ball. They scored over 30 points against that Iowa team. Kicked a lot of field goals, but...
in a letdown spot for Iowa on the road. Situationally, it wasn't great. But here's what Michigan has gone through quarterback-wise this year. You ready? Can't stop throwing it to the other team. Can't throw. Can barely throw.
No, we don't pass, Tina.
Right.
That has been the order of operations as Michigan has gone through quarterbacks. And then beneath that is a freshman who hasn't thrown. So I think I'm going to run with the hope. I'm going to run with the team that can conceivably believe in moving the ball and stopping the Michigan offense.
I like Michigan State in this game plus the 3.5, whatever.
I think Michigan State is ahead of where Michigan is as a program because of the trend right now. I think Michigan has a much higher ceiling as a program, but I think things are trending in a better direction right now for Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm not going there yet, but again, I'd be a fool to not acknowledge that there are good vibes on the Michigan State side.
Okay. And I'd be a fool to not acknowledge that I want to, and I'd rather be at Marigold Kitchen.
Right now, Ty.
Screw the football. Who cares about the football?
Oh, give me both. Why not?
I want that roasted mushroom and Gouda omelet. Ooh. I've never had Gouda on an omelet before.
I think you're ready, Ty. Your whole life has led to this point.
I've done the mushroom thing. I
do the mushroom thing all over the place.
Yes.
On the omelet. But like Gouda. Which bright minds got together and conceived that Gouda on the... I'm in.
Why not?
Count me in.
Even if it's just the two of us at Marigold Kitchen, about 10 minutes away from Camp Randall in Madison, I'm ordering like 5 things for the table. I'm getting us some blueberry pancakes. I'm getting us some guajillo braised chicken quesadilla for the table. I'm probably getting a breakfast burrito with all sorts of roasted red peppers and slaw and salsas and chorizo and eggs and potato. I'm getting the whole thing, and I want to order at Marigold Kitchen to the point where our server says, you guys have more people coming, or...
Well, that was going to be my question. I'm going to need to wheel you out of there if you eat all this stuff.
Are you guys...
Like, is this you taking a bunch to go?
We're like, no, we just want to try everything, Marigold Kitchen. We want to try everything.
Wow. So we're ordering that much. I don't know if we've got that in the budget, but we're going to order this. We're going to sample.
Yes.
Essentially, you're making your own sampling platter.
It's one of the great joys of going to a restaurant with a ton of things you want to try is of ordering too much food because you're just like, well, I gotta try a crab cake. I got to try a quesadilla. Yes, Marigold Kitchen filled me with so much of the hope that I can have an incredible breakfast that I just want everything. Yeah, I'm going to order 4 to 5 things for our table, just the two of us.
I want to try the omelet with the Gouda.
Right.
I saw that's where like a laser focus. I want to try that. I'm very interested in this Marigold Kitchen.
There's a blackberry sage matcha latte. I barely know any of those words.
I have no idea what that is.
And so just bring it. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Bring it on over. You're making your own whatever syrup. Hit me with it. Yeah. Marigold Kitchen.
Marigold Kitchen. Marigold, great website too. Love the website.
That is your week 9 of Big Ten Breakfast. Ty and I will be moving into a duplex in Madison, Wisconsin, and probably applying for jobs at Marigold Kitchen. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Feel free to comment on everything we got incorrect in this episode right down below. We'll see you soon.